Welcome to the bold analysis. For last 3 weeks, we've been talking about the Supreme Court decision on allowing the LGBTQ plus community in the country to form NGOs or to form their own organizations because under their constitutional right. And that discussion was very ripe in this country because we were really looking at it in terms of then what does it hold? And I realized that the country was united in one front saying no to this. Members of the opposition, the ones that are in government now, the clerics from both the Muslim and the Christians, and lobby groups, different lobby groups, even some protests, then protests were held, protesting about the LGBTQ issue. But today, I listened to, I read an article by the US Ambassador, Meg Whitman, that she's saying that she's been holding meetings with LGBTQ community in the country because in conformity to the United States stand, that their rights, for them, they have a different stand to that of our country. We look at it as a country, as a cultural, as eroding our culture, but for them, eroding our culture and morals. But according to what Meg White is saying, is America looks at it as also those rights that needs to be respected. So we are in this. In the country, I remember then people saying, but we said we didn't want it. For us, it was an issue. So why is this debate still coming up? And from our position here is that even though they respect the position of the Supreme Court on that, they respect the position of Kenyans on that, but doesn't change their position as America, even though they're here. So part of what they do is to advance those rights here, because for them, they have a different stand to that of us. After all talks and the sweet words on it, dust has settled. But what really have changed? What really has changed? Did we really go to seek review in the Supreme Court? Did we appeal? Because it came from Supreme Court. Supreme Court is the apex court. So did we appeal, or where so far is it? This is, I want to believe that, I know it's a discussion that many people want to bring forth, but it's very sensitive, but it's also a matter of urgency. Let me revisit this story a bit. Remember the story of Jeff Mwathi, that young man who was killed, and may his soul rest in peace. I've been trying to follow it, and I think I did it in point blank. The police have framed some theories on his death. And there is one that, as a man, and I want you to look at it so that you know that at the end of the day, I think this is a discussion we'll have, because even at the height of the death of that gentleman, the police are thinking, what is the sexual orientation of the accused? Let's look at it this way. This gentleman was called by the DJ Fatso. They were supposed to meet for some deal on interior deco. They went for a drinking spree in the night in some 2 counties. Then when they came at night, they came when there were 6, the DJ, some 3 ladies, the late deceased, and the driver and the cousin. Then later on, the DJ Faxo guy left with the 3 girls, probably for some personal mission. Then the three gentlemen remained in the house, which was the late Jeff Mwathi, the driver, and the cousin to the DJ Faxo, who has been staying in that house. Then some few minutes to 5 a.m., the body is falling from the building up there. Of course, the CCTV is showing the body falling, the body of the late Jeff Mwathi. And The police are trying to ask this thing this way. His pants were, is it pants? Okay, he was half naked from the waist going down, and the underpant was actually somewhere around the knees. Now, just being that, and allegedly later, the two gentlemen that were in the house were live streaming, and the whole story goes on and forth. Police have tried to narrow down, and I just looked at it when that thing was going on, just looked at it, people, they were asking, what is the sexual orientation of the people? So, the society is already on this. We're already thinking about, we're already creating a premise on such things, on what exactly is going on. Why would, and people are asking, and may his soul rest in peace, I know the investigation is still going on. For those who've been following Point Blank, I think I analyzed it about that issue in the Point Blank fully. I don't want to delve more on it. People are asking why we will still talk about that if, as a country, we had refused and said that we are not going there. For us, for the country, for us as a country, we are not boarding into that discussion. There are some glaring observations I'm just making from this thing. And allow me to make them by saying, the leaders joined the public voice, and they just joined to avoid backlash. Oh, I need to first ask you kindly subscribe to our channel. Kindly subscribe to our channel. We're heading to 45,000 subscribers. I want to say thank you very much for those who are subscribing and also inviting others to subscribe. I don't take it for granted. Kindly help us share more, subscribe, and also support us as we also plan to grow more. We believe that in some few months coming, we'll have a very good studio, big studio where we can also host other people, other guests, so that we make it build it from the bold to bold TV. Now, Ruto leaders only joined the voice of the public. They only joined the leaders, political leadership led by President Ruto, Rigathi and all. They just joined the voice of the public. And I remember in Eldoret when Rigathi said that we're not going to accept those things from Wazungus to be brought up here and be sneaked to us through the courts and so, na tutawafukuza. I remember the whole sensationalization of the matter, and people played into the trap by leaders joining in sensationalizing the matter. But did we really put things to action, or we were taken for a ride? Did we really act? If just months later, in my say wanasema kama in my place they say, before a hen amemeza saliva, I don't know. Yes, as within a twinkle of an eye. We used to write that in our composition. Just within a week, the US ambassador, who people blamed, and the population really blamed, saying, population really linked the Supreme Court ruling on the Europe. But then he's saying he's been conducting these meetings and do that. So people wonder, why are we really taken for a ride? Does that confirm that the Supreme Court ruling had deep influence from the top leadership? I know that in public, there is a very clear line and a very clear statement defense on, I don't influence public, I don't have any stake, I don't speak to the judges. We really make very good pronouncements in the public. But is it really what it is? Because there seems to be nothing going on, and the changes that we've been talking that maybe did, nothing really changed. If this is going on, then it also shows, number one, Supreme Court ruling had a very deep influence. Remember, I know that the courts are not supposed to react to a ruling that has been made. They just leave ruling and keep quiet. But do you know the fact that that matter was actually putting judiciary in a very tight space, because there are Kenyans who felt like they are not really sensitive to the factors, they're not sensitive to culture and or morals. It's a court in our land. And I remember when they gave the ruling on the presidential election, there was a lot of backlash from the public, and they would at least once trying to do fact check and release some statement on this. But on this LGBTQ, they've kept their silence. What has only been released, and there are some rumors that has been coming, that number one, the rumor has been that, the rumor has been that the top leadership, or rather, the rumor has been that the top, that the judges were a little bit split in terms of those who supported and those who opposed. Now, Western powers that are irrigating, that are maybe funding these groups, could have irrigated. They could have. They might have just irrigated the throats of your leaders, and this thing was just meant to, go on there. So what's my point? I think the discussion needs to continue. As a society, I can tell you the discussion needs to continue, because it was coming a month, I think 2 months after the death of Chiloba, allegedly in Eldoret, linked to that. Now you're also having the death of Jeff Mwathi. Police are really trying to scratch their heads. Was it something to do with sexual orientation? I have seen First Lady, they've come up with a program, I think, with the Anglican Church for some project in high schools trying to curb illicit behaviors. And for the parents, I want to talk to you. TikTok at night has become a crime scene for the children. So for those of us who have children, yes, just don't be very sensitive to what your daughter is consuming in TikTok. I'm not against it. It's a very good safe space for also other people to also get talent. People are showing their talent there. It's an interesting space. Personally, mimi ball nitajaribu niingie, but we must be very sensitive. I think Nation even read that story last week. Yeah, they read that. They did a very interesting story last week on TikTok, on the way TikTok has become a lot of X-rated content getting their way in TikTok, and if before you know, your children are actually into it unconsciously, rather even against their wish. So ladies and gentlemen, let's meet in the next.